Hi everyone, welcome back to DJMZ, Diwan-e-Ghalib, Meri Subani. To all our returning viewers, we are very happy that you could join us again. And to the new viewers, we are delighted you discovered the podcast and decided to tune in for the first time. Now, if you were with me in the previous episode, you know that currently we are going through Ghazal 27 from Diwan-e-Ghalib, Dard Minnat-Kash-e-Dawaa na hua. We have already covered 6 couplets. Today we are going to pick up the 7th couplet. As always, I'm going to read the couplet first and then we'll get into the keywords, concepts and finally the DGMC impression. So this is how it goes. Jaan दी हुई उसी की थी. जान दी हुई उसी की थी. हक तो ये है कि हक अदा ना हुआ. Let's do a quick approximate translation. So first line, जान दी हुई उसी की थी. I gave up my life, the life that was to begin with given by him. Second line, हक तो यूं है कि हक अदा ना हुआ. The truth of the matter is this, that the right, the dues were never paid. So that is the approximate translation, and hopefully by the time we are done with the impression, this will make a lot more sense. Now let's get into the key words of this couplet. First line, जा दी हुई उसी की थी. There are no complicated words in this line. Ja is life, di is giving, and usi is it, he or her. So nothing to cover in the first line. Let's move on to the second line. हक तो यूं है कि हक अदा ना हुआ. Haq is the key word in this second line. As you can see, it is used twice, just like di, which is used twice in the first line. So haq has two very distinct separate meanings. We will cover them both. The first meaning is the regular meaning of haq, which we are very familiar with, right? That meaning pertains to rights and ownership and privileges and your portion, your share, something that is owed to you, that belongs to you, right? इस पे वसीम बरेलवी का ये शेर, उसको कांधों पे ले जा रहे हैं वसीम. उसको कांधों पे ले जा रहे हैं वसीम और वो जीने का हक मांगता रह गया. Beautiful couplet. The approximate translation is, they are taking him away on their shoulders. By extension, the body of the corpse is being taken away by people on their shoulders, and the corpse is still asking, pleading, requesting for its rights to live. वसीम बरेलवी का ये एक और शेर, उसी को जीने का हक है जो इस ज़माने में इधर का लगता रहे और उधर का हो जाए. Approximate translation is, they are the only ones who are entitled to live in the world of today. The ones who keep appearing to be on this side and meanwhile at the back end change and go to that side. सलीम कौसर का ये शेर, sorry viewers, my cough is still persistent, so bear with me. सलीम कौसर का ये शेर, सुनते हैं ऐसा ज़माना भी यहाँ गुज़रा है, हक उन्हें मिलता जो हकदार हुआ करते थे. Beautiful couplet. The approximate translation is, it is told to me, I have heard from people that there were times when rights were given to the rightful owners. I hear about it by extension. I don't see it anymore, but well, some say that there used to be a time when rightful owners rightfully would get their rights. So that is the first meaning of haq, which is pertaining to rights, ownership, privilege, something due to you, your share, your portion. Moving on to the next meaning of haq. And this is a very beautiful meaning. We are not aware of it, or if we are aware of it, it's not used as much, right, in the common vocabulary, so to speak. Now this meaning of haq pertains to God and the godly truth, God and his truth, right? The God, the truth. That is what haq is in this meaning. आलमा इकबाल का ये शेर, आईने जवा मर्दा हक गोई और बेबाकी, अल्लाह के शेरों को आती नहीं रूबाही. The approximate translation is, in the eyes of youth, you see a boldness, a truthfulness, because these lines of God himself know no trickery, no falsity, no cunningness, no deceit. Their eyes do not hold anything that is cunning, false, deceitful. Their eyes hold truthfulness and boldness. कैफी आज़मी का ये शेर, ऐलाने हक में खतराए दारो रसा तो है, ऐलाने हक में खतराए दारो रसा तो है, लेकिन सवाल ये है कि दारो रसा के बाद. Beautiful couplet. The approximate translation is, in the proclamation of truth and God, or I should say in the proclamation of God and his truth, yes, there is a danger of rope and gallows. By extension, there is a danger of punishment. There is a danger of execution. But the question is this: what after the execution? Beautiful couplet, right? Makes you think, what after the execution? If you were to die for the word of God, for the word of truth of God, then sure there will be an execution, but after that what? And that is worth thinking. After that, the wages of such an act will make up for your pain and trial and tribulation. गुलाम भिक नायरंग का ये शेर, सूफी भी बन के देखा और रिंदे बेरिया भी, सूफी भी बन के देखा और रिंदे बेरिया भी, कर नाराए अना अल हक एक खलबली मचाई. The approximate translation is, I experienced being a Sufi, and I experienced being an intoxicated one. In both states of existence, this loud nara, this loud claim, there should be a better word, but just to get into the gist of it, the loud claim of I am God, I am truth, I caused commotion in both states. When I was a Sufi, when I was an intoxicated one. By claiming I am God, I am truth, I created a commotion like no other. And here that story of Saint Al-Mansur also comes to mind, right? The one who proclaimed, I am God, I am truth. Sayyid Yusuf Ali Khan Nazim का ये शेर, क्या फ़ायदा नाहक सितम इतना ना करो तुम, हक से तो डरो गर मेरी परवाह ना करो तुम. Approximate translation is, what is there to gain? I implore you not to torture me so much. At least be afraid of God and his truth. If you do not have any concern or any consideration for me. So that takes care of Haq. Haq, which means the God, the truth. And that takes care of all the keywords in this couplet. Let's start getting into the impression. First line, Jaan di hui usi ki thi. Approximate translation, I gave up my life. It was given to me by him to begin with. Now this couplet is par excellence in many ways. We see Ghalib bring in all his aces in this one hand, leaving the reader awestruck by Ghalib's magnificence. We will have to take this couplet in small bite-sized pieces in our effort to do justice to it. Ghalib starts the couplet with Jaan di, which translates to I gave up my life. Let's stop right here at these first two words and pause and think, right? Jaan di, I gave up my life. Now that's a huge statement. That's a huge statement. For anyone to claim giving up their life is not a small thing. Irrespective why, how, and when, the fact that they gave up their life is a big deal. To further add to the huge proportions of the act of giving up one's life is the reason behind it. The underlying reason for giving up one's life adds to the glory of the sacrifice. मुस्तर मुजफ्फरपुरी का ये शेर, इश्क में जान दी है मुस्तर ने, हर तरफ वाह वाह होती है. So the approximate translation is, he gave up his life in love, Mustar. And the poet is referring to himself. And that's why everywhere he is being glorified, he is being applauded for the same. Now, there are some of the most common glorified reasons that exist for sacrificing or giving up your life, right? One is for your country, right? We hear so much about it. Fazal Haq Azimabadi का ये शेर, जान दी पर किसी ने ना तोड़ा वचन, जिंदाबाद ए वतन, जिंदाबाद ए वतन. So approximate translation is, they gave up their life but did not break their promise. Hail be to the country, hail be to the country. Sometimes one gives up their life for their faith, for their belief, for God. इस पर कासिम हयात का ये शेर, तलवार ने तुम्हारा सीना छेद दिया है या पीठ, तुमने खुदा के नाम पर जान दी है. The approximate translation is, whether the sword has pierced and butchered your chest, or whether the sword has pierced and butchered your back, the fact of the matter is that you have given up your life in the name of God. फजील कश्मीरी का ये शेर, इसी उम्मीद ही में जान दी है मरने वाले ने, इसी उम्मीद ही में जान दी है मरने वाले ने, अब आएगा मसीहा ए ज़माना अपना. Beautiful couplet. The approximate translation is, this was the hope in which the one dying gave up his life voluntarily. And the hope was, they will arrive now, the Messiah of my times. And as you know, Messiah has the reputation of breathing life back into you. Then for grief and pain, and as Urdu poetry fans, we are very well aware of this one, right? मीर हसन का ये शेर, करके बिस्मिल न तूने फिर देखा, बस इसी गम में जान दी हमने. The approximate translation is, after slaughtering me, after executing me, you never even turned around and looked back. This is the exact grief, this is the exact pain for which I gave up my life. And of course, you is referring to the beloved. Now, another reason would be for love, for the beloved. And again, as Urdu poetry fans, we are well aware of it. इस पे ज़ियाउल हसन का ये शेर, इश्क का काम तो देना है, सो जा दी ए दिल, हमने दुनिया से कोई चीज़ भला ली भी है. The approximate translation is the main task of love is to give, and therefore I gave up my life, O heart. Right? I, as a lover, have I ever taken anything from this world? In love, the only thing you do is give, and hence I gave up my life. So, like we covered for the country, for the faith, for grief, for love, and in addition to all these, there are many other beautiful reasons, emotions, sentiments behind sacrificing one's life. And Urdu poetry is a beautiful, beautiful resource for them. वजाहत अली संदालवी का ये शेर, जा दी कितने सितारों ने इसी उम्मीद पर, सुबह के होने में आखिर किस लिए ताखीर है. The approximate translation is, so many stars gave up their life, by extension gave up their light, in the hope that what seems to be the delay for morning to arrive. And then वकार मानवी का ये शेर, जो मेरी जान के दुश्मन थे उन पर जान दी मैंने, सिखाई यूं भी अपने दुश्मनों को दोस्ती मैंने. The approximate translation is, the ones who were enemies of my life, I gave up my life for them, and this is how I taught my enemies the lesson of friendship. So all these couplets, all these scenarios to underline the proportion, the huge proportion of a statement like Ja Di, I gave up my life. It is not a small act. Most of these sacrifices of life will come with a certain glory attached to them. Giving up your life for a cause you believe in usually will be followed by honor, fame, and glory that applauds this sacrifice, and justifiably so, because after all, it's not just any sacrifice, but the biggest sacrifice one can ever make, giving up one's own life. Now, let's move on to the next part of this line. Di hui usi ki thi, which translates to, it was given by him to begin with. Here Ghalib states that the life I gave up to God was actually given by God himself to begin with. Usi in this line can be interpreted in two ways. As always, right, in Urdu poetry we always say it can be God or the divine beloved. So technically Usi can be him or her. But keeping the theme of the couplet in mind, in DGMC's humble opinion, this couplet is actually about God, the one and only giver of life to everyone. And this is what we have based our impression on. Now, in usual poetry and prose, including Urdu poetry, we see the glorification of giving up one's life a lot. We just covered so many couplets about it, right? It is a strong theme. As humans, life is the most precious thing we have. And when someone gives it up or sacrifices this precious thing, it is a big deal. Now, it is with reference to this strong human instinct of glorifying the sacrifice of life. ये जो एक इंसानी जज्बा है, we see a masterful stroke of genius from Ghalib in this first line. A very unusual stance, a very different stand that Ghalib takes towards this emotion of feeling glorified when you sacrifice your life. Ghalib says, the life I gave up to him was given to me by him to begin with. The wordplay of the is masterfully done by using it twice in the first line. And though it might seem to be having the same meaning both times, it has a different meaning in both usages. The first the is in response to the second the. Though the translates to giving, Ghalib uses it as returning when he puts it the first time in the line, and then of course as giving when he puts it the second time in the line. So the way the line reads is, I return to him. I return to him the life which was given to me by him. So Jaan di, though di means giving, the way he has woven it in the couplet is, Jaan di, I returned life. Di hui usi ki thi. This life that was given to me by him to begin with. In DGMZ's humble opinion, this statement shatters the usual strong, age-old mindset that says we give up our life to God, or God takes away our life. Ghalib says the fact of the matter is that we return the life to God, a life that was gifted to us by him to begin with. Ghalib highlights to us how, when it is time to return to God, what rightfully and originally belongs to him, we as humans conveniently forget that we are returning this life. Instead, we as humans pretend as if we are giving this life to God out of the generosity of our spirit. Or even worse, we pretend as if God is forcefully taking away from us something that belongs to us. Trust Ghalib to give all humans a reality check, a reminder. You as humans are not giving up your life for God. You are merely returning it back to God, who was, who is, and who will always be the rightful owner of this precious gift called life. So that is the first line, Jaan di hui usi ki thi. Mind blowing, mind blowing. Moving on to the second line. हक तो यूं है कि हक अदा ना हुआ. The approximate translation is, the godly truth of the matter is that the due was not paid. The rights were not fulfilled. Now, if you thought that the first line was loaded, first line was mind-blowing, well, the second line is even more loaded with deep meaning and philosophy. Similar to the first line, we once again see Ghalib repeat a word twice. I mean, we get so caught up in the emotion at DGMZ that we many times forget the craftsmanship of the couplet, the crafting of the couplet. पहली लाइन में दी दो बार, दूसरी लाइन में हक दो बार, पहली लाइन में दो डिफरेंट मतलब, दूसरी लाइन में दो डिफरेंट मतलब. फिलॉसफी वगैरह सब साइड में चल रही है, but the mere craftsmanship of the couplet is also mind-blowing. Mind-blowing. So, the word haq is masterfully used twice in the second line. And once again, on surface, both uses might seem to be having the same meaning, but actually they don't. The first usage of haq in the second line describes God and his ultimate truth. The second usage of haq in the second line describes the rights, the entitlements, the privileges, the claims, the dues, right? And we covered both meanings in the keywords. So, when you keep those two different meanings of the same word haq, the line would translate something like this. The ultimate godly truth is that what was due remained unpaid. What was owned remained unpaid. The debts remained unpaid. Once again, in usual poetry and prose, including Urdu poetry, we see the usual pattern of assessing one's life in terms of what we received during this life. What joys did we get? What sorrows did we get? What comforts, what trials, etc., etc. As humans, we have a strong natural tendency of measuring our life in terms of what we receive in this lifetime from God and from other sources. Right? Once again, Ghalib challenges this strong human instinct, this insani jazba, in a masterful stroke of genius. Ghalib adopts an unusual stance, a different stand. Ghalib in this second line decides to measure life in terms of what we gave back. What did we give back to God? What did we return to God in exchange for the life He gave us? Not only does Ghalib measure life in terms of what we gave back to God, he also shares with us the result of this measurement. Haq Adaa na hua. Per Ghalib, when we start measuring our life in terms of what we gave back to God in return for this beautiful life, we as humans will very quickly realize how short we fall. How short we fall, how inadequate, how meager, how non-existent has been our returns to God in exchange for the gift of life He has given us. As humans, we fail to pay back to God the dues we owe to Him. And this will keep us indebted to God even after we return back this life to Him. Ghalib draws attention to the fact that this gift of life from God demands our attention, our hard work, our perseverance. We should not allow anything or anyone to waste our life away. According to Ghalib, it's not important that you got a life from God and then you gave back that life to God. What is important is what you did with this life for the long time it was with you. It was yours. It was you. Did you do justice to the life? Did you live it in the way that was worthy of the generosity God showed in giving it to you in the first place? Per Ghalib in this couplet, he was not able to do justice to this generous and precious gift from God. Haq Adaa na hua. The dues I owed to God for this precious gift remained unpaid. Remained unpaid. Ghalib, with 16 words in this couplet, humbles the entire human race into a realization that is not talked or written or sung about as much. So, a very different, a very strange understanding of the dynamic of life and death. According to Ghalib, it's not a right, it's a gift. And no, you are not being generous by giving it to God. You are actually giving back to Him what originally belonged to Him. What you need to focus on is, did you give it back to Him after misusing it, abusing it, not using it, disrespecting it, dishonoring it? Or did you, for all that time this gift was with you, through your actions, through your deeds, honored it and respected it? So that brings us to the end of the second line. Now, let's take a few minutes to enjoy the couplet in totality, because this is one of those couplets where the two lines do intertwine with each other a lot. So the meaning will come out beautifully when the whole couplet is taken together. So in this couplet, we see Ghalib, number one, reject and shatter some mindsets common to us as humans. Ghalib condemns, strong word, but we'll use it. Ghalib condemns the tendency of humans of devaluing and demeaning the precious gift of life, especially in times of trials and tribulations. Considering life as a burden, considering life as something forced upon us, is, in Ghalib's humble opinion, running away from the responsibility we owe to this life. अनम शहजादी का ये शेर, क्या मुसीबत है जिंदगी यानी, क्या मुसीबत है जिंदगी यानी, मुझको जीना पड़ेगा मरने तक. The approximate translation is, what a pain this life is. I will have to live it till I die. Just that frustration, right? That giving up on life. रुस्तम नामी का ये शेर, कहाँ है जिंदगी बस में हमारे, है बस ये बेबसी बस में हमारे. Again, the approximate translation is, when has this life ever been in our control? All that is in our control is this helplessness, this hopelessness. And then Maqbool Ahmad Maqbool का ये शेर, जानते हो तुम कि क्या है जिंदगी, मसला दर मसला है जिंदगी. The approximate translation is, you very well know what life is. One trial after another trial. That's what life is. So these couplets very beautifully capture that natural, strong human instinct that we have in ourselves, right? Where we undervalue, undermine the preciousness of life when we are going through trials and tribulations, when life is not working out for us. So Ghalib rejects this logic, he rejects this human instinct. He says, though we have a strong tendency to do this, we should make an effort to steer away from it, because indulging in this type of temperament is our way of dishonoring, disrespecting the precious gift of life given to us by God. Easier said than done, totally agree. As humans, this is our natural tendency, but Ghalib says strive to be better. Now, after rejecting this strong human tendency, Ghalib proceeds to inspire us by giving us three unique perspectives, at least in TGMC's humble opinion, three unique perspectives in this couplet. First perspective, Ghalib reveals to us God's generosity in giving us something as precious as life, the best gift ever possible. शानूल हक हकी का ये शेर, बड़ी तलाश से मिलती है जिंदगी है दोस्त. Beautiful couplet. बड़ी तलाश से मिलती है जिंदगी है दोस्त, कज़ा की तरह पता पूछती नहीं आती. Approximate translation is, after a long, difficult search, my friend, you find life. Unlike death, that comes looking for you. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to go and find it. Death will come looking for you. It will chase you. Not life. Not life. Life, if you ever receive it, you will receive it. If you ever experience it and receive it, you will do that after a long, difficult search. The second perspective, Ghalib inspires us to show thankfulness, graciousness, and accountability for this precious gift to God. Shahid Siddiqui का ये शेर, मौत है कीमत हस्ती, कोई इनाम नहीं, जान दी है तो हयात आबादी पाई है. The approximate translation is in a philosophical, beautiful couplet. मौत है कीमत हस्ती, कोई इनाम नहीं. Death is just a price you pay to attain eternal life. So that was the second perspective. Third perspective. The third perspective is Haq Adaa na hua. Like we say at DGMZ, Gazab ki baat, right? Haq Adaa na hua. Ghalib beautifully captures the fact that even if as humans, throughout our life, continuously, consistently, we try to honor and respect this gift of life from God through our words, through our deeds, the fact of the matter is, such is the magnitude of this gift from God, we will never ever get free of this debt. Never. We can do as much good as we want. The debt is so huge. The magnitude of this gift is so huge that you will always owe to God. You will always be indebted to God. So those were the three perspectives that came across to us from the couplet. Once again, in the couplet, we see Ghalib teach us a valuable lesson that though is embedded in God and His precious gift of life, has the power to inspire us through multiple walks of life. One good example, right? A child. A child who owes its very existence to its parents, when down the line takes care of them, is a great example of this, right? No child should mistakenly think that it is a praiseworthy act of greatness and generosity to serve its parents. The fact of the matter is that it is an opportunity for the child to honor and respect the generous gift of life and existence given to him by his parents. A child who is part of the body called parents merely takes care of what it is part of. The beauty of this lies in the fact that no matter how much you serve your parents, you will always stay indebted to them for your existence, for your life, for your first word, your first step, your first smile, your first year, your every first. And such debts, in DGMZ's humble opinion, are blessings indeed, right? अहमद अता का ये शेर, किसी बुजुर्ग के बोसे की एक निशानी है, हमारे माथे पे थोड़ी सी रोशनी है ना. The approximate translation is of an elder, right? Of an elder, there is an impression of their kiss on my forehead. Don't you see a certain light shining on my forehead? Well, that is the impression of the kiss from an elder. रईस अंसारी का ये शेर, कोई दरख्त कोई साइबा रहे ना रहे, कोई दरख्त कोई साइबा रहे ना रहे, बुजुर्ग जिंदा रहें आसमां रहे ना रहे. What a couplet. Beautiful couplet, right? The approximate translation is, whether any tree stays up flourishing or not, whether they are shadowy patches of greenery or not, whether the sky above stays or not, what matters is that on your head there should be the hand of blessing of the elder. Rest of all those things can go away. You don't need their shadow upon you. If you get it, good. If you don't, you will survive as long as you have the shadow or the hand of blessing of an elder on you. Such is the power. Such is the protection. Such is the blessing elders bring to you. So that takes care of the couplet. जान दी हुई उसी की थी, हक तो ये है कि हक अदा ना हुआ. I gave up my life, but the fact of the matter is the life was given to me by him to begin with. The godly truth is that despite giving up my life back to him, I still stayed indebted for that gift of life from him. Now, we will leave you with a short rubai from Ismail Merathi. It captures beautifully the two wonderful meanings of haq, right? One which is God and the godly truth, and the other which is rights. So this is how it goes. Al-Haq ki nahi hai gair hargiz मौजूद. Al-Haq की नहीं है गैर हरगिज मौजूद, जब तक की है वहम गैर हक है मफकूद. हक ये है कि वहम का भी होना हक है. हक है तो हर एक तरह से हक है मशहूद. And I apologize for the narration. I'm a little choking over my cough a little here, but I will translate it for you. So these are the 4 lines per our translation. O God, the truth is that there is no other person. As long as there is an illusion present of another, truth cannot be found. The truth, in fact, is that the presence of the illusion itself is testament to truth. If God and truth exists, then in every possible way, God and truth will manifest. All right, well, that closes the episode for today. We genuinely hope you enjoyed the episode. We found it, what should we call it? Soul stirring, right? It stirred up our soul when we were creating this episode. We hope that vibe came across to you too. Let us know via your comments and feedback how you liked the episode, what you liked about it, what you didn't like about it. As always, we'll be very keen to hear from you. Now, for the new viewers, a strong recommendation. Please go through the episode titled Introduction to DGMC, because that will give you a good insight into the motivation, the inspiration behind this podcast. For the regular viewers, whenever you have time, always go to the homepage of the channel. We have playlists there segregated by topics. And just so that you know, we visit our homepage, change the sequence of playlists, bring up the new content for you, etc. So no, it's not the same homepage every time. Now, allow me to go ahead and close this episode by sending you a lot of love and light to all you dear viewers, and thanks for watching.